Hi everyone, welcome to another webinar with RankSense. I'm Brittany and I'll just be going through the chat and answering some of your questions. Today we're joined by Lee Foote, owner of SearchSalt. He's going to show you how to take control of your SERP snippets with the GSC and CSE API, hosted by SEO and BI consultant Charlie Wanier. So without further ado, let's get started.
I really like the French accent here, well done.
Thank you.
Excellent. Hi everyone, I'm really happy to be here today. I had a chance to do a RankSense webinar. It was a few months ago, just before Hamlet passed away. I think it was in November, and it was a great honor for me to do this webinar, and I've got a chance to do that today again. So I'm really chuffed because not only I'm honoring Hamlet's memory, we talked about doing webinars with Hamlet around December, and so it's great to be able to do that today. And I think I'm double excited because we have an amazing SEO Pythonista with us today. We've got Lee Foote. He's been doing absolutely brilliant work. He's been making waves in the last few months in the SEO Python, the SEO community. And so it's super exciting, sorry, to see Lee today show us his magic. So how are you, Lee?
I'm really good, thank you, and thanks for the incredible introduction. I'm really humbled, thank you. It's really good. But yeah, excited to kind of share everything with you guys and show you what I've been making.
How is it going? You're in Brighton today, right?
In Brighton, sun shining. So I was on the beach earlier today.
Oh, lucky you.
Yeah, a few drinks.
My lord. I mean, Nottingham up north, and it's not great. I mean, it's not too bad, but certainly not the time to go on the beach.
Well, I've got to make the most of it because the sun doesn't shine very much in the UK.
Sure, that's for sure. UK for you, the UK. So today we're going to talk about your brilliant collab you've crafted. We've had a chance to catch up yesterday on the collab. It's I'm absolutely blown away by what you did. It's super thorough, super well explained, and I think it's also super hands-on for SEOs, be it experienced SEO with Python or like beginners.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through that for half an hour, and before that we'll have the usual chat about yourself, just to see how you came to Python, your story. So yeah, I mean, first of all, I know we've been given a list of questions, and I've got my list somewhere, but I think it's mainly to know about your experience with Python. How did it start, and just some nitty-gritty about it.
Yeah, sure. So I've been an SEO for 10 years. Started just before the Panda update, which was a lot of fun. Kind of learned the wrong way to do SEO, and then obviously learned the right way. Been using Python seriously since October of last year. I kind of dabbled in it a year earlier, kind of looking at some of the stuff Hamlet did with the machine learning and automation. And it really got me interested. So I had a couple of weeks off over the Christmas break, and I kind of just copied his code down. Got some of it to work, some of it I couldn't get to work, but that's just things going out of date, libraries being updated, and things which to me seem so easy now. At the time, I was just throwing the keyboard out. So I kind of understood the potential there, but I wanted it all on day one without having to make the guess the number games and print hello world, and I just wanted that day one. So I kind of stopped out of frustration, and then basically picked it up 10 months later when we lost a member of staff, and we found it just incredibly hard to replace them. So we thought, this is the perfect time, let's look at some automation. And to date, we haven't felt the need. So we're actually, I think we're more productive, and it's not a slight against the person we lost. It's just that we can crunch more data, automate more things, and just get more stuff done, basically more stuff built ultimately. So I've really been enjoying it, and I found it a lot easier to learn because I understand the data. I understand clicks, I understand impressions, I understand revenue, bounce rates and things like that. So the data's familiar. It doesn't feel like an abstract concept, and I think it's really important. So that really helped me. I think if I was learning on like weather patterns and census data and things like that, I'm not sure I would have stuck around, but just I can see the goal, basically. I can see the end product. So yeah, it's been a great journey. It's really fun.
That's outstanding. What I find really crazy, in a good way, is that you've literally started Python just a few months ago, and what you've been putting online on Twitter, I mean, it's just like blowing everyone's heads. It's just so good, so practical. It's just like it's beautiful, and it's also very inspirational for. I mean, for me personally, I found your work very very inspirational. Probably because I've been doing SEO myself for about 10 years. I think we started around 2009. So actually, 12 years. Time goes too quick. But I've done a lot of technical SEO, and I've done a lot of large scale migration. And because your work is related to, matching, fuzzy matching, productivity with regards to crawling, it really resonates with what I've been doing and what I'd like to do in the future. So, I think overall it's been really, really, really crazy.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Inspiring to see your work.
Wow, thank you. So I try and keep it basically practical and actionable. So coming back to the machine learning, it's really cool, and it's crazy what you can do. But day-to-day work, I haven't found a way to build for it. So we use a lot of Google Sheets, or we were using a lot of Google Sheets with processes, formulas, and things like that. So I thought the first thing would be to recreate those in pandas. And then basically I just kind of expanded on it. So I got the output from the first iteration, but I still had to do a lot of manual work, a lot of cleanup. So the second iteration, I thought, well, can I take away this manual element? And then it just evolves and evolves, and the manual work becomes less and less as your confidence and skill increases.
Definitely, that's really what I love about programming and Python and any programming. Basically, is that all the works you're doing compounds, and it's not something you will do and you will never waste your time. You will always get better. You will always find ways to make it more efficient, faster, or more useful for anyone using it. So that's certainly a perk. Quick question about your background. Do you have any? Did you start with computers, or do you have any degrees in computer science, or did you come for a completely different background?
No, it's a very roundabout way. I've always had an interest in computers, but just for leisure, really, I suppose. I actually studied moving image at university, so film studies. And then I went to work for a TV production company in the machine room, so kind of technical stuff. And then I moved into radio, doing the same thing, but for broadcast radio. Okay. And they had a side gig as a web host, and I just got very friendly with a web design agency. I know it's crazy. I started my own blog, and then I was just curious, how do you get traffic to this blog? And I started reading up, and I was more interested in the technical side of it. So split domains, or all that kind of jazz. Basically everything this web design agency were doing wrong. So they were great designers, and as far as they were concerned, here's the copy, here's your design, it looks brilliant. But, technically, it was just rubbish, basically. And I think they got fed up with me pointing out things, or you can do this better, or shall I merge this domain for you? And they just said, do you want a job, basically? So I started freelancing for them, and then got more and more clients, and the clients got bigger and bigger, and the budgets got bigger and bigger. And eventually I had to set up an agency with a friend. So we joined forces, moved to Brighton, because I think that's where the action is. There's so many agencies here. Obviously, you've got Brighton SEO hosted here. So I've been in Brighton for 2 years, and it's a really great, vibrant place to be.
It's a brilliant place. I love Brighton. I really love this place. As you say, the vibe is really unique, and you've got all the potential with Brighton, but also London clients. I think it's about an hour away from London, right?
Yes, exactly. So location's excellent. So.
Great. And initially you are not from Brighton. I think you told me you were from Plymouth?
Plymouth in southwest of England. So really nice.
Not far.
Very, very different. It's where you go to retire. So
exactly.
But great beaches, it's very close to Cornwall. It's a really good place to be. Just not very good for music scene, for example. There's just more going on here.
I'm very envious.
Got to sleep my hometown. That'd be really fun.
Something I wanted to talk to you about, just have a chat about, was the Drum Award, because you mentioned you started your agency. When did you start your agency? So just for the audience, the agency is called Search Solved, is that correct?
Search Solved, yeah, that's correct. So we try and help kind of enterprise e-commerce clients which have got their own SEO team in-house. Yeah. But maybe they need a hand with strategy or technical, and then we'll would do a strategy document or, offer a solution, and then they can just basically, they go off and implement it in-house. As we started 2 years ago, we entered the Drum Award. Just, I don't know, we thought we had something that was award worthy.
Yeah, sure.
So the first award, and then we won it. And so we won it in the e-commerce category, and we're up against some huge multinationals, huge London agencies. And it was just quite funny because it was just me and a friend, well, my business partner, Mike, at the time, and just won the thing. So it's pretty crazy. So that was good validation,
Who did, out of interest, if you obviously can say, who did you compete against during this, in which category, and who did you compete against?
So it was in the e-commerce, e-commerce category, search category, and we beat Adidas, I think Vodafone, Intersport Elvery, and
the really huge names, basically.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Fantastic. That's fun. And the drama was like last year, right?
Yeah, so it's 2020, which is a shame because we didn't get to do the whole award ceremony and things like that. But it is
next one.
Yeah, that's true.
You're on the radar now. High expectation. You need to keep the number one spot. So in terms of question, what else could I ask in terms of Python? So we talked about how did you get into Python, but how do you use Python on a daily basis? Which tool, which libraries you use, which framework do you use, just to see how your workflow works?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, definitely pandas. I think if I was to give any tips, it would just be to focus on core Python and pandas, and basically treat pandas as a super powerful version of Excel. And I was just trying to use it day by day. So if I was going to use Excel, I would use pandas just as much as possible. So day to day, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, it depends what the deliverables are, but I try and use it for 100% of the deliverables if possible, even if it's just a subset. So even if it's, for example, polyfuzz matching categories to H1s, where VLOOKUP's good in an exact match, but the partial matching is terrible, basically. I would never trust it. Whereas if you were to use a library like polyfuzz, you can get like a 99% match if there's a plural. So if there's an S, something really simple, or if it's hyphenated, like a decent fuzz library will do that, whereas a partial match in VLOOKUP will just give you rubbish, basically.
It's funny with polyfuzz because like very quickly, I was using polyfuzz. That's what I love about the Python community, the SEO Python community, is that I've started with polyfuzz. We were starting chatting together on Twitter, and I sent that to you, and you came with so many like use cases. That's one of the things I love about your work, is the creativity. You managed to really like connect the dots between different elements, and you managed to bring some really creative use case out of it. And this is really what I love, not just with you, but with the community that we have, is like sharing. The more we share, the more we come up with new ideas that, for example, by myself, I couldn't have thought about that alone. So that's one of the perk of being in this community, I think.
Sure, completely agree, because I was using Fuzzy Wuzzy before, and I think actually you recommended the polyfuzz library. So yeah, no, absolutely, the community is amazing, and kind of just learning off each other, so it's great when people share their work. So,
and again, I think we wouldn't be here. I mean, I personally wouldn't be there without Hamlet and the way he led the way. He paved the way to the SEO community to embrace Python. He certainly was the Python. People before him used Python in SEO, like Paul Shapiro was the very first person who inspired me. But really, Hamlet paved the way to expand that to the whole community. So I know so many people who wouldn't be doing Python without Hamlet, and that's great, really. That's great.
Yeah, 100%. So he actually invited me to do the webinar. So the second thing I shared, and I didn't even think it was that good, to be honest, and it's got a DM just saying, "Oh, why don't you come and show us all about it? Just show us how it works." And I was just blown away because I see this guy in all these articles doing just crazy AI stuff, and that he would take an interest in.
He was like, I mean, yeah, he was just amazing, and an amazing human as well, not just an amazing person with regards to Python skills, but an amazing, he was just very respectful, regardless of your level. He would always make sure you would succeed, and he always make sure that he take time to help you. And I know he had so many people requesting his help, and he was always making sure to help. Anyway, so in terms of other questions I may ask, an interesting question that we have here is maybe any experiences or advice that you'd like to share with the audience, any pitfalls that you, or any recommendations that you want to give to the audience?
Yeah, definitely. I would say get a good IDE. So I really recommend PyCharm. I know other IDEs are available, but that really helped me. Just it has a linter, so it will kind of underline when your syntax is wrong. So if you're missing a comma, for example, things like that. So it will give you really good hints in your code, and that just saved me a lot of time. And then eventually you don't make those mistakes again. So that kind of steered me in the right direction. And it also has a really good macro functionality. So I was just typing to CSV blah 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 / folder name all the time, especially when you're debugging something that's not working. And I thought there must be a better way. Oh, there is. There's macros. So you can just type it out once, assign it to a button. So now just double click the middle mouse and it rocks the whole thing out. And it's just saved me, hours of typing. So so definitely get a good IDE, PyCharm. Second tip is to get a GitHub account, no matter your level, because you can almost save state your code. So once you've got something working to one level and you're really happy with it, it's locked in and you're done. And then maybe you learn something new in a month's time and you go, wow, that would really work well with this piece of code I wrote last month. Then you can come back to it and you can just be completely crazy, not be afraid to break it at all. Just completely experiment, rewrite it. And if it doesn't work, then you haven't lost anything. And that's really helped me, especially as my skills kind of improved. So just go back and rewrite it, add new features, merge new features. So definitely get a GitHub. Make a cheat sheet. So at first I was really discouraged because I wasn't learning and wasn't remembering all the syntax straight away. So I knew what I wanted to do, but I couldn't remember exactly how to type it every time, and it was really bugging me. So I just make a cheat sheet. And I try and learn one thing off it every time I open up the code for the day. I try and remember one thing, just try and make it stick, basically. But I always refer to the cheat sheet. So if I need to drop duplicates, I've got a line there set up, just drop duplicates, And I think it's just more important to make things and be excited about it. And I think your technique will come. But I think just stay interested in it. You can't learn it passively. You just have to pick up and just start making things.
I think that's a key point, like being able to think about an issue you've been facing for weeks, months, years in your job, and trying to kind of solve it via Python. Doesn't have to be very ambitious to start with when you start, but just something that is breakable, achievable. And there's nothing, at least for me, and for I'm sure many people, as you say, lecturing and learning the theory is important. But being able to, as quickly as possible in your Python journey or learning journey, to apply that and start coding is something that makes a real difference, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say as well, just focus on pandas. Use CSVs rather than APIs, I think, at the beginning. So you can just import CSVs with pandas so simply, and just get used to merging different data sets. So AdWords with third-party like keyword data like SEMrush or SEMrush, Ahrefs, and just mixing and matching basically. Merging data, so PD merge, really useful. So just put your blinkers on, core Python, pandas, good IDE, get a GitHub and make things.
It sounds like a good setup of tools to start, definitely.
And it's all free as well, so as hobbies go.
And they're all open source and free.
Good free hobby.
You can't go wrong. And I think, as you say, with GitHub, you can really iterate, you can really try things, and you're not going to break anything. So it's highly recommended. And me being more Streamlit and web application side, obviously the GitHub thing is essential. And if you use GitHub, which is ubiquitous nowadays. You could also use the GitHub desktop, which is so helpful.
Yeah.
Desktop version, which I'm sure you're using that as well, right?
Just GitHub at the moment.
No, the desktop one, the desktop.
Oh, sorry, the desktop GitHub. Yes. So PyCharm has it built in, but it was.
Oh, okay.
But I just found it super confusing because I was learning PyCharm at the same time I was learning Python and everything. I was just
Gotcha.
like, one more thing I need to know. But this just made it really easy because I just copied the code out, copied it to a new text file, and then the GitHub desktop app just uploaded.
Sounds great.
So it just made that really simple. It's just one less headache, I think, at the time. So
sounds amazing. Yeah. And it's funny because I'm more VS Code user, but I've always been a bit put off by PyCharm because it seems a bit more cumbersome, at least for me. But the macro thing seems really interesting, and I want to try now. You convinced me.
Excellent.
So in terms of timings, I know should we just jump to your, because I know there's a lot to cover.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's maybe jump on that script. So I think have you got access to, can you share your screen with us, please?
I can, yes.
Great, thank you.
Cool, so that should be shared now. Let's go to the top.
Yeah, all good. Well, at least I can see it. Hopefully everyone can.
Excellent. So high level view, what this sheet does is basically pull all your keyword data from Google Search Console using the API. It runs your top keywords by impressions through the Google custom search engine. And then we pull the live meta descriptions and titles, and then we compare them to how they're being displayed by Google. And then it will flag whether they're being rewritten, basically. So it'll be true or false. Yes, this is different. And then offer some solutions and ideas. You see different things for different sites, so it's quite interesting, but you never know till you run it. So it should be very actionable. And also it includes whether your keyword is included. So it will say, here's a meta description, but this keyword isn't included, basically. So it's probably a good idea to add it. I'd say the hardest part of the script is getting the authentication files at the beginning. But once that's done, it's done, and you don't have to do it again. So I have included quite extensive documentation, step by step, on how to get the keys. Once you've got them, just put them somewhere safe, and you can run it as many times as you like. So it's actually the custom search engine developer key is free for 100 searches per day. So that's enough, I think, to give you a good feel on your top 100 keywords. And if you want to go a little deeper, then it's $5 for 1,000 searches extra. So very good value.
Very cheap anyway, very affordable.
Yeah, I mean, and if it's client work, then it's peanuts, you know, so super actionable. So I've gone into in-depth on how to get each of the 3 required files. CXID, that's basically the configuration file for the custom search engine, basically, where you just add your own site, and then it gives you the keys. So that's pretty simple. I'd say the hardest one is probably the client secret JSON file.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yeah. So but once you've got it for years, or until they change it basically again. So it's worth doing because you can just use it for lots of projects, and I do. So I've got the same kind of block of code to pull it in, and I just recycle it for any project that needs it. So
yeah, you can really use it for many APIs that on the Google Cloud console.
Yeah.
So once it's set up, I'm using it for Search Console, for BigQuery. I use it for Google Cloud Functions. I'm using Cloud Console more and more, and this has come very, very handy. Just a quick question on this is
Sure.
The keys. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you don't necessarily have to have your custom search API set up on the same Google account as your Google Cloud, or do you have to?
You don't. So you have to. So it's the same account that you want to authenticate with, I believe. So so your Search Console sign in, basically, you would have to use with your Google Cloud. That's where I understand.
Yeah.
It was traumatic enough doing it one time. I haven't tested it a second, but once it's done, it's done. So there's literally step by step.
because there's a very interesting library that you're using. It is the library from Josh Carty.
Yeah.
Josh is a friend, and we worked together a few years ago with a big retailer in the UK, and he's been. I think it's great to see his script is being used by so many nowadays. And one of the great thing on this, it's basically a wrapper of the Search Console API. And one of the perks, there's many perks to it. It makes it very easy to access the API data. But one of the big perks is the fact that you can actually serialize the JSON post authentication. In other words, as you said, once you've done the authentication via OAuth, it saves a JSON file, and then you can keep your JSON file on your local machine, and you don't have to go through the authentication again, which makes it very, very handy.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, excellent. So, like I said, in-depth instructions there. Definitely recommend it. Yeah, so
it's really detailed, and the screenshots and everything. It's great. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, like I say, it's honestly the hardest part of the script, so I'm trying to make it as easy as possible.
Brilliant.
Excellent. So let's get cracking. So basically, we're going to install pandas and the Josh Carty Search Console library, which we just talked about, and we're going to install Beautiful Soup as well.
Let's go.
Yeah. So Beautiful Soup is to scrape the live metas and titles from the site. So.
Any reason why you decided to go with Beautiful Soups instead of Scrapey, for example?
None at all. I don't know. It's just a preference on the day. But it was scraping websites is hard in that it's hard to get a consistent response from servers, like booting bot detection, basically. So I just found, you can put the header in easily enough to emulate a browser, basically, and it seemed to give me the most consistent results, basically, not getting blocked.
It's pretty straightforward, I think, to use, and that's why it's great, and it's very ubiquitous again. But I think the only drawback nowadays is the fact that you can't crawl, unless I'm wrong, unless there's a new thing. But I've never really been able to scrape any website which were server-side rendered.
Okay, interesting.
So if you've got a website which are server-side with regards to the content, you have to move to libraries like Pythonial, or there's another one. What's the other one? I'm going to find the name again. Selenium, sorry. So Selenium enables you to scrape all those websites with server-side rendering. You can't do that with Beautiful Soup. But other than that, it's a great library.
Sure. My plan B was to use AdverTools and actually just do a full crawl, but that seemed a little bit overkill. But be interesting to see if people remix this sheet as well, because obviously we're going to be sharing it at the end. So
sorry, which tool was that? I missed that.
AdverTools has a
crawler. Oh, AdverTools, yeah, from Elias, of course, yeah. It's outstanding. It's just a beautiful, so versatile library. And I'm sure Elias, hopefully Elias will be in the chat. He's always here. So Elias, if you see us, hello. Hope you win.
So that was my plan B, but I just thought it might be overkill to do like a full-on crawl. But then, I just want to grab quickly the meta description and the title. So
sure.
I think it's a speed element in there as well. Cool. So once we've installed, we can import the libraries. Cool. And we've imported them. Now we upload the keys, basically. So we're going to upload the custom search engine developer key. Do that now. Cool, and that's done. And then we're going to upload the CXID, which is the configuration file, basically.
And the JSON file, the client secret.
Yep, the client's secret. Cool. And then lastly, we're going to log on to Search Console and paste in the auth code.
Sure.
Yeah, that's done as well. So like you say, it does serialize. So it's actually saved a file called credentials.json. So next time we could just link to the credentials JSON without having to actually go through and manually click allow and paste the code in. It's a lot easier.
So it's worth mentioning very quickly that because you're using Collab on this specific session, If you're not using Collab Pro, the session will expire after so many hours, and you'll have to restart again the session and the runtime. But if you're using, for example, a Jupyter Notebook, or even if you're using, again, Streamlit or a local machine, or even if you're using Collab Pro, you could potentially leave that for forever.
Yeah, good to know. So I've added a line here which actually prints out the available properties in Search Console, which is really helpful because it's really picky when you pull in the data. So for example, if you're missing a trailing slash, it will just error. It has to match exactly how it's printed in Search Console. So if you're having issues, you can print that. I've also added a debug line as well, which will print automatically if you are having issues.
Okay, that's great.
Cool. So we set the Search Console variables here, which is basically how many keywords we're looking at, what country do we want to analyze, what's the website, and what date range Search Console data do we want. So we're going to go for the first quarter. So this is going to take about 40 seconds, but it really depends on the size of your website, basically.
Okay.
So that's fine.
It was super quick yesterday, so I'm sure I'll be quick today.
So we're going to do the same thing for the custom search engine API, but we're going to set the language of the search engine, the geolocation where we're searching from, the number of pages to check, and pretty much that's going to be 1. And the search page to start from. We want to start from the first page. So each page counts as a search query. So if you want to check more than 1 page, then everything doubles basically. So if you check 10 keywords over 2 pages, it's 20 credits. And remember, you get 100 free credits per day. I would just leave everything set at 1. I had this in there because there is an extra option in search, in the custom search API, where you can actually include all of the results. You can include other websites, but it's pretty useless because it's a subset of the real results. So it doesn't match the live search. You can use it to track what position you're at, for example. So in my instructions, I've basically said, don't enable this. And in which case you only need to search the first page anyway, because we're only searching your specific site. So you get more value with your credits, basically.
That makes sense. Nice one. So on this script, you've added an error message if if there's more than 10 scraped results. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's a warning. So it tells you how many credits you're going to use, and just whether you're going to go over 100. It's going to error basically. The API is going to say no after 100. So it's just a heads up. It doesn't stop anything because you can just enter your billing details and pay for more than 100 basically.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And with regards to billing, the billing for this specific API, the custom search API, happens with Google Cloud. So that's the Google Cloud billing, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. So they make it fairly straightforward, to take your money. So it's easy enough. And you can set limits as well, because it's hard, I guess, to gauge kind of how much you're spending. But you can say, right, I just want to spend up $100 or something. And it will give you an alert when you've spent 25%, 50%, and then it will just stop until so you can set hard limits if you want to. But that's a lot of searches, So hopefully you get more value from it than it costs you. Cool. Okay. So this actually authenticates with Search Console API. So you can actually set custom dimensions, query page, country, device. I've actually commented out the device dimension because I'm not fussed about it. Basically, I just want all of the keywords in a group.
Sorry to interrupt. This is great because I've been using this wrapper from Josh for quite some time now. And I've never realized you could actually group or pipe the dimensions like this. So what I used to have is one script that pulled, for example, if I wanted the URLs, I used to have one script and then another script for the keywords. And the fact that you can actually pipe all the dimensions together is fantastic. It's really quick and straightforward. Definitely,
I agree. I think this code was some example code on the GitHub as well. So it's very slightly modified, but it's excellent. So
I'm gonna have to use that tonight.
So I use it as a foundation for so many different things. Once you've realized you can get your keyword data, you can just do so much with it. You know, you're limited by your imagination, really. So like I say, I started on CSVs to start with, and then as soon as I got this working, everything that used the CSV import from Search Console now uses the API. So
of course, yeah,
it just really helped to evolve the code. Cool. So
out of interest, the question, because I've got a project, I'm going to have a project on this, and that's going to be on a large scale. How can you hit the API per day, the Search Console API? Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, it's a lot. The only time I tripped the API was pulling it day by day and then concatenating it. Because if you pull a day's worth of data, you get more, I think, than if you pull a month's worth. So if I pulled 30 consecutive days worth, I think you get a lot more, So that's the only time I've ever had it go away. You're pulling too much data, but that was about 3 months of days, I think. So on a huge site as well. So I think for most people's sites, you won't have a problem.
I've got a client with I think with about 1,000 websites on Search Console. So yeah, I'm sure I'll be able to hit the API pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think it's per property. So I think each site will have its own limit. So that's
there's 1,000 properties and a daily update. So I think we're gonna have to go in synchronous async. Sorry, my French accent, but that's another story. Let's do another call another day.
Sure. Another tip is you can actually segment your sites as well. So for example, for an e-commerce site, normally if it's done well, you might have a /product or /category for categories and products, but you can actually add each of those folders into Search Console and get granular data for each one. So I could just get product data just by adding the product folder and things like that. So you were talking about limits. So if I had a script that was just looking at products, for example, I could just query the product property from Search Console. So, but that's a good general tip, I think. Definitely segment your data in Search Console. You'll get much more granular data out of it.
And this is within the, sorry, apologies. And no, so this is within the wrapper. This is Josh's script again, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we pulled 185,000 rows, which is quite a lot, I think. And then we're going to clean and refine the data. So this is basically going through with all the variables we set. So we're going to filter out the country-specific traffic. We're going to sort it by the highest impressions. We're going to drop any duplicate queries, and then we're just going to count the rows so we know how many to drop. And then basically we're going to drop the rows, keep the ones we want. Strip out any special characters, just because sometimes you get some random stuff in there that's going to break pandas. So it's just to urge on the side of caution. And then we're going to dump everything to a list from.
There's a very there's a very good. I think it's a new library, which not because I think what you did to deal with the special characters is the regex that you put, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I had to look that up, definitely.
Yeah. There's a very good, I can share it on Twitter later, but this is a library which basically because as you say with pandas, there's a lot of encoding issues. Like say I've been working with multi-countries accounts with big retailers, for example, and if you work with a Russian website, you're going to have Cyrillic characters, and these will have to have a specific configuration in pandas, and this library does everything for you. It will actually spot the different encoding, and it will actually dynamically adapt the encoding and the decoding, so it actually fixes your issues on the fly. You don't have to write the regex, which is okay, but it's not like working for everything. So I'll send you the link on that later. It's really nice.
Excellent. I'll be interested.
Anyway, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's good. So basically we're just going to clean the data and dump search queries to a list, and then that list is going to be run through Google basically, and we're going to see what they're returning for each query. Cool.
So these just for the audience and people maybe less familiar with Python, this is purely some data cleansing, data cleaning, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we've filtered on the specific country, then we've sorted by the highest impressions. So technically they should be your best keywords, whether they're getting clicks or not. That's obviously what we're looking to fix now. So I think that was the most logical way. So it's just cleaning and sorting the data. And the result here is the top 40 queries that we're working with. So,
Top 40, yeah.
Yeah, top 40, and that was just specified. So we could have gone to 100 for free or more if we want to pay.
Sure.
Cool.
Right.
So then basically that gets run through the Google custom search engine.
Yeah. And so this is purely just some audience is 100% clear. This is purely to get the data as it appears on Google, right?
You've got it. Exactly. So we're looking at how Google are displaying the snippet with the meta description and the page title, and if they're rewriting it.
Sure. So beautiful. So with the scraper, we will scrape the data as per what it is in your on your website, and then the search, the custom search API will fetch what Google displays, and then we're going to compare.
Yeah, exactly right. So it does this first, and then whatever URLs it matches to. So it searches the keyword, finds the URL, and then that URL is what we query on the live site, basically. To pull up the page title and the meta description.
Very clever. Very clever.
This was a monster to write. Google love returning nested JSON, which is dictionaries of dictionaries, and it just blew my mind. So so I had so it was very baby steps and just kind of working through it, a lot of trial and error. Watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I've actually linked the YouTube video that I watched to that gave me clarity on it, basically. So included that in the sheet.
I feel your pain. I feel that pain as well.
Yeah. Cool. So we've got the 40 keywords from Google. And this was basically, I mentioned earlier that one of the options in custom search is that you can include third-party sites. I've just included this as a fail-safe, just in case people have ticked that option. This will get rid of those sites because we're not interested in them for this purpose, basically.
Okay.
Cool. So we're going to make the data frame and filter the data based on what we've just got from Google. So now we've got the ranking URL, search query, the snippet, and the page title as it appears in Google. And then we're going to use that, and we're going to get the live information. So this will take a little while just because I've put a delay on the crawler, which I think is always polite to do. So I've set a 1 second delay. 1 second, which is the best practice, right? I think that's fair. You know, it depends. If it's your own site, then obviously you can call it as fast as you like. So, and obviously I didn't really want to get blocked doing this live as well. So I'd just rather err on the side of caution. So sure. Yeah, so that's whizzing through. I've put an error message, nothing to scrape. That usually means the page is a 404 or it's a 301. It's anything but a 200. So I probably could have worded that a little bit better. But I think it's still interesting because, you know, these are your best queries that the site's ranking for. So if that page is a 404, probably needs to be redirected. So I think it's worth really handy. Yeah, really handy. It's, yeah, so nearly done. Nothing's great, but that's probably a 404. And does it actually identify any URL regardless of your response codes, or is it specifically 404 and 200, or have you extended the scope to all the response codes? I haven't. So basically, did it work? Yes, here's the response. Hasn't worked. Couldn't scrape it. So that could probably be refined as well. So okay, cool. Okay, so we've got that data as well. So now we're just going to merge it all together, and then we're also going to merge back in the original search console data. So we've got all the impressions and click data as well. Yeah. So you're blending the data all together. You got it. Exactly. So I've commented every line as well. So if people want to, you know, just really step through it, then they can read through it. Cool. And we're done. So it's outputted the head of a data frame here. Not very useful actually, but it's also saved it to a CSV file. So I just need to change the screen sharing. There's a line of code you could put in Collab, which basically displayed your full table with filters, and you don't even have to leave Collab. Oh, wow. Can you guys see this okay? Yeah, that's great. I can see that. Excellent. Okay. So this is Welding and Weld. It's a friend's site. Obviously needs some work, so I told him not to change anything until I've done this presentation, because he was actually diving in and fixing things. But the basic premise is these are your top search queries: impressions, clicks, the URL that's ranking, the live page title, so that's as it appears on the site today, the SERP page title, the live meta description, the SERP snippet, just whether they match, true or false matching, whether the keywords found in the title or the meta description. So there's a lot going on here. So the top 3 keywords are for the homepage: welding, welding equipment supplies, welding supplies online. So the live page title's got a lot going on. It's got a pipe and a dash, which is a bit weird, and it's got the branding at the end. So for the rest of the site, that's what I'd expect. But for the homepage, I'd expect the branding to be first in the page title, and evidently so does Google. So they've actually rewritten the homepage title to have the branding first. So I would probably take a lead from that. And if I was doing this for a client, I'd probably recommend a new page title, something like welding and welder, welding equipment supplies online. So I think that's much neater than that. So we're kind of taking the hint from Google that, you know, we should put the branding first. So that's a good one to start with, I think. So what else?
We mentioned when we talked about that yesterday, and obviously if Google's parts or retrieves the incorrect data, there is this no snippet tag that you could add to your website. Yeah,
definitely. So if I show you here, so a lot of these pages just don't have any content. You don't have a meta description. They're just pages of products. And for some reason, Google think that the cookie policy is the best snippet to show for that page. And again, these are the top queries. This is the, you know.
Yeah, very popular. What's the query there?
Pardon?
What's the query there? I don't think, I mean,
so
I can't see the full screen there.
Let's have a look. So we've got welding bench. So when you type welding bench, his snippet is, by continuing to use this website, you agree that this is okay. So
wow,
it's
that's
probably
really popular help terms for the client. So that's such a kind of a low-hanging fruit, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So there is, you're right, there is a snippet Google provide called data no snippet, where you can actually add it to your boilerplate content, to your footer, header, filter sections on the side, cookie policies, and basically say, do not pull a snippet from here. Because like I say, it's only a list of products. So the ideal situation is they go in and they write some content. But at scale, if this was a large site and this was an issue for them, overnight, this would improve if you added those snippets, because they would say, okay, well, we need to pull this from somewhere else. Let's try somewhere more sane and show a better snippet and hopefully get more clicks through from search. So at scale, it works very quickly whilst you're hiring a content writer to go in and fix everything up. But the good thing about this is 100 queries, but it's your 100 best queries. And you can spot issues at scale, even if you don't want to subscribe. So we know that repeatedly it's ranking the cookie, it's showing the cookie policy over and over.
There's so many use cases and actionable element that you could get with this report straight away. So
yeah, definitely. So if you're an agency, I would check all my clients straight away and see if I could sell them a report, definitely, because I think there's value there.
There's lots of value in there.
Value.
I can see you. Well, I can see us doing a Streamlit app about that. That's for sure. Let's chat.
Excellent. Well, I'm releasing the collab at the end, so obviously, you know, it'd be great to see what people make of it, and if they do remixes and things like that.
That really could be. You've got so many good ideas, though. That I'm thinking about this as a Streamlit app, but there's so many others. So let's chat anyway. But what I can see here is the polyfuzz, where if you were to do that at scale for 100,000 URLs, millions URLs, you could ease the work and potentially give users a gauge of what is similar, what's not.
You've got it. Yeah, exactly. So at the moment, I've just got a really basic, does it match, yes or no, like a Boolean, true or false. But you're right. So polyfuzz will show all the nuances, basically. So 99% match, rather than false, you know. So,
exactly.
Yeah,
And you can filter out anything that's useless, so that's not going to be impacted.
You've got it. And because obviously Google bold the keyword in the meta description, I think it was just worth having a check whether the keyword's found in the description, because if you are going to the trouble of rewriting them anyway, it's probably worth mentioning that, or getting those keywords put in at the same time.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's brilliant.
So, but it's just insane how much they really dig that cookie policy. I don't know.
Have you told your friend about that yet?
Yeah, so he was diving in and changing things. No, you have to wait until.
Call him urgently. Yeah, that's
exactly.
Very intriguing.
So, but like I say, you don't know what's there until you look. So I've seen weird things like the branding being added twice. So the live page title has the branding in, and then for some reason Google are adding the branding again. So you've got double branding, just all sorts of weird stuff. So it really depends on the site basically, but it's very interesting to look. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what people come back with, you know.
And I can see lots of applications where like to expand the work on rewriting those metadata with some, deep learning algorithm like GPT-3, for example.
Yeah, exactly. So
lots of possibilities here.
You've got it. Yeah, endless possibilities, I'd say.
And I think Hamlet did something I think it was one of his last articles, if not the last, in Search Engine Journal, with regards to rewriting dynamically with the deep learning algorithm. I think he was using Ludwig. Which is a kind of an AutoML high-level API that's built on top of TensorFlow. And this is a great example of your work could actually be blended with Hamlet's work, and you'd have something super actionable here.
Yeah, exactly. So you, in the other ideas section, you can train an AI model. So that's crazy. So you could correct the titles and then train an AI model how you changed it. And perhaps it can predict them for you next time and rewrite them for you. So polyfuzz, fuzzy wuzzy. You can also modify it to use the third-party API instead of the custom search API, which, like I said, is a subset. So, for example, if you wanted to actually get the position that you were ranking at, you would have to use either Data for SEO or Zen SERP, something that actually scrapes the live SERPs and then wraps it in an API wrapper for you. So it's interesting. And also what you could do is steer your content. So you could write a custom meta description, add no snippet to your boilerplate content, and then write a secondary meta description almost as the first line of your content. So something really punchy, really salesy, something that really just sells the page in 2 sentences as if it was a meta description, and then carry on. So if they don't use your declared meta description, they might use the first line of your content. So yeah, so I've included a lot of resources that helped me along the way as well. Data Blend Your Way to Success, that's by Greg Bernhard, really helped me. So definitely shout out to that. That was the first thing that really made it click for me. So just blending different datas, doing merges, and it's super fast. So an API, you have to wait for it to pull the data, but using CSVs, it's instant, so you can just keep testing things. So, yeah,
Greg, I mean, the work Greg has been put in the last few, I would say the last few months, is just outstanding.
Yeah.
Like he's so regularly posting great content, and he's covering, I think he's going to cover the whole API market soon about search engine marketing and SEO. Is just brilliant.
Excellent. Yeah.
And I think we've got really Corey on the chat as well. So I just want to say hello to Corey.
Hey.
And yeah, so I think you've covered so much. The collab is so comprehensive, and I think you're gonna share it at the end of the session. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to tweet it out in a moment. It's on the obviously RankSense GitHub as well. So,
on the GitHub, okay.
Yeah, it's on the GitHub as well. So yeah,
brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm not sure. I know that we have a few more minutes to talk about maybe questions from the panel, maybe. So what do you need to do? I need to read that? Let's have a look. Sorry.
If anyone from the audience has a question, feel free to write it in the Q&A or in the comments section, and they'll answer it.
Oh, okay. And I guess we can always catch up later on Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Drop me a DM, or tweet me.
Feel free to bombard Lee with questions.
Yeah, as long as it's not about the getting the API access, it's fine.
At the end of this webinar, everyone will receive an email containing contact information for both the host and the guest. So don't worry about it. And you'll also receive a link to the collab.
Brilliant.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Brittany. So, so how long have we got left now?
We have about 5 minutes left. One question that came in was, does this work on Shopify?
Yes. I mean, it shouldn't matter what site. The only restriction is going to be whether they block the scraper or not. So they shouldn't. So like I say, we set like a 1 second delay, but it's just whether they block Beautiful Soup and the request library basically from scraping. But it should work. It should work. It's not specific to any one kind of CMS or anything like that. So, yeah.
Yep. Those delays can be tricky on some sites. Sometimes you have to lengthen them a little bit more, but yeah.
Yeah. You've got it. Yeah. So that's kind of the wild card, really. It's how aggressive is their anti-bot protection. But it's quite flexible. So there's a part where you can actually set a different user agent. Yeah. So, or maybe people will remix it, for example, to use advert tools or a scraper, a decent, an actual crawler. So, but yeah, it should work. Let me know.
I think you can also use different, you can crawl locally on your local machine, set specific IPs, and you can liaise with your developers. If they have any website, you can give your set of IPs that you're crawling with to kind of ease the restrictions. It's also something that works, that can work pretty well. Be it whether you're using a third party like Jeep crawl or whether you're using a Python script, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it should work. I'd be interested. Let me know.
Great stuff. Did you want to talk about RankSense or anything else, Brittany?
If we have no further questions, I'd love for you to show the audience what you did with SEO Pythonistas.
Sure. So I need to share my screen, right? I know we did repeat yesterday. I should be okay now.
So stop sharing.
Yes, please. And then have Charlie.
Okay, great. Let me try. You know what? I'm not even ready. So share screen. Share screen. Share. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yep, we can see.
You see just the screen or the whole, just the screen, just the browser. That's great. So what we did very briefly with SEO Pythonistas is we wanted to have a portal that remembers Hamlet, not only how brilliant he was as an individual, as a person, also to highlight all his amazing contribution. Again, I wouldn't be here. Many people wouldn't be doing Python today if it wasn't for his help and his inspiration. So what you can do here, I've listed all the contributions from Hamlet in this report, which is a Data Studio report. It's not complete. I'm by myself pretty much doing that. Elias has been helping me a lot as well, but I haven't had a chance to complete. There's a lot of things. Hamlet's been so productive that I've only had the chance to do such an in-journal and such an inland, and there's already so much content that people can delve in. You can choose the title, the language, the content type, the level. So there's a lot to browse already. Now, not only that, on this website, I also wanted to use it as a portal for any SEO Pythonistas around the world. So the idea, again, is very little there. There's already quite a lot, but there's so many more content to add, and I'm working on that. So hopefully in the coming weeks rather, I'll be able to add some more content. The idea is to have the most comprehensive portal of SEO Python content in the world. So hopefully I can stick to that promise. And also last but not least, there was so many heartwarming comments about when Hamlet passed away. On Twitter, I thought it would be a good idea to obviously leave a place where people could see the tribute. So it's a set of tweets. So it's embedded, so it takes a bit of time to load, but you can see all the great messages people have left. And one more thing, obviously, is you can still donate to Hamlet's family. Lily Ray puts a link, a GoFundMe link. So if you scroll down, you can click here. You can help. All the funds will go to Hamlet's family. And you can also leave a comment here. You can write comments in memory of Hamlet. So that's what this website's about, really.
Thank you so much for putting this site together, Charlie. It was very heartwarming, and also great to have all of the different types of contributions put together in one place. So thanks again.
You're welcome. Back to you, Brittany.
Once again, thank you very much for putting this together. We really appreciate it. I saw some of our past guests on there, and I was like, yes, thank you guys so much for like putting all your work out there for everyone to, as a community benefit from it. Just some last things, as I mentioned before, you will all be getting an email with the contact information of the guest and the host. And this webinar will be uploaded to our RankSense YouTube channel. So you will be able to watch it whenever you want, and you'll also receive a link of that in your email. Be sure to check out our GitHub, our Twitter, follow us on Twitter, follow us for more tutorials, which is what this was based off of. And just thank you all for joining, and thank you once again to our guest and to our host.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Lee, for this work. And I hope to see you soon, and we can work more ranks and hopefully more work together, Lee.
Yeah, excellent. No, it's been real fun. Thanks for having me.
Cool. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Maura. Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a nice day.